Hello, welcome to Adobe Live. I'm so excited to be back with you today. If we haven't met yet, I'm Jordan Danae Ellis, Community Manager at Adobe Express. I'm so excited to be back with my co-host, Andy Lambert. How are you, Andy?
I am very well, thank you, Jordan. How are you?
Good. I'm really excited about today. We're going to be talking about what has changed in the world of social media in the past month, which is
we are.
a massive thing. So
Just a bit.
Yeah. For anyone who uses social media for their own brands, their own business, it's like a full-time job to keep up with what's happening in the world. So we're hoping to make it a little easier for everyone by doing this for you every single month. So thank you, Andy, for doing all the hard work of finding out what is going on in the world of social media for June.
My pleasure. I love it.
I'm so excited to see what's happening.
Yes.
And also, before I forget, thank you everyone for joining in the chat. We want to know either which social platform you hang out on the most or which you're the most curious about. So if you're in any of our live chats, please let us know. We'd love to hear what you think.
Yes, we would. So Jordan, before we dive into it, do you want to tell everyone and give a bit of background on who you are, and then we'll do the same. We'll dive straight into it.
Yeah. I'm a community manager for Adobe Express, but in addition to that, for the past 12 years, I've been an entrepreneur running 3 different businesses that have gone from hobbies to part-time to full-time. So I have used social media and online marketing massively for the past decade. I'll say this is the thing, like I didn't have a huge ad budget. I don't know if anyone watching can relate to that, where if you aren't a startup with like tons of investors or a lot of money saved up, the fact that social media is something that you can use for free, like you can use it for free, is huge. And so this is something that I have used a lot in the past 10 years to build up the businesses that I've been running, and I'm still running on the side. So I do know a little bit about what I'm talking about. And
you undersell yourself, Jordan.
Yeah,
you really do. You really do. You know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah. I guess like just before we dive into it, I'll get the boring bit out of the way with for me as well. So I'm Andy. I'm one of the founding team of a company called ContentCal, which is a social media software product which got acquired by Adobe in December last year. I had to think it's only 6 months ago, but it seems like a lifetime ago. And this is just something that we keep our eyes on all the time, because since we built ContentCal and since we launched the Adobe Express content scheduler product in May the 10th, I think that was, it's our job to keep on top of everything that's happening in the world of social so that we can evolve the product to make sure it meets the evolving needs of social media managers, anyone that's interested in social media, small businesses, anyone that wants to realize the incredible potential that social media has for businesses. And that's why we keep such close tabs on everything that's going on. And I think at this point, let's dive into the screen share here, because there's a lot of stuff to go through. Because realistically, there's 2 elements to this presentation really today, where we're going to focus first on like trend and data. So what's happening in the world of social? What do we see? Platforms we see in the ascendancy, some platforms that potentially are losing a bunch of users, etc. With the idea of helping inform our social strategy so we can focus on those channels and platforms that have the biggest upside for us. And then we're going to dive into network by network. That's what's interesting to know, like Jordan said, some of the platforms that you're most interested in, the ones that you invest most time in, because when we focus on some of those platforms, we know which ones that we will really dive into. But there's always so much that happens within a given month. But what I do want to kind of caveat this presentation with is like, I don't want anyone to feel overwhelmed by everything that we're going to go and talk through today, because there's a lot of stuff going on all the time. The idea of this session is for you to feel empowered with all of the things that are happening. So within the next 40, 50 minutes, etc., you'll know exactly what's happening in the world of social. You'll know all of the new features that you could have access to so that you can just make better, smarter decisions with your social strategy. I don't for 1 minute expect everyone to do everything we're going to be talking about. It's all social media, as I'm sure Jordan, you'll probably have some views on this too. It's all about focus, zeroing in on the things that you really want to do that you think will leverage maximum return. Don't know if you want to add anything to that narrative.
Yeah, I think that's a very good call out. Please don't be overwhelmed. You should not care about everything here. This is an overview. So there also will be a replay. Feel free to kind of take notes or like pay attention to the parts that are most interesting to you. And then you can always come back for a refresh for any of the specific points for the networks that you hang out on. But yes, no one really should be on every single platform. So hopefully this will help you figure out where it makes the most sense for you to be. And please don't feel like it should be everywhere because it
100%.
definitely shouldn't.
100%. So let's dive into some trends and data that we've seen over the last month. And let's start here with Gen Z social media preferences. So Gen Z, that's an audience or a demographic born between 97 and 2012, of which unfortunately I cannot put myself in that camp.
Me neither.
Yeah, sadly. But the changes, the reason we talk about this, because even if you're not particularly targeting this demographic with your social media content, what it is interesting to know about this demographic social media behavior is that this charts the trend for where social media is headed. So even if we don't necessarily need to tweak and change our strategies right now, it gives us an idea of the direction of social so that we can rethink our strategies into 2023 and beyond. So there are some marked shifts here. You can see, Instagram slipping to third place. We can, very interestingly as well, see a bit of a slip in Snapchat as well, which typically has been like the stronghold of Snapchat as a platform, always orientating towards the youngest demographic. But one thing that is particularly interesting that we'll go into in a couple of slides' time is the growth of YouTube in particular for this audience. Because typically, for the last couple of months that we've been doing this, we're doing these social media updates, is that we've seen like TikTok at the top of all the charts and we're all raving about TikTok, but actually, YouTube remains such a strong and important platform because, and I think just one bit of narrative on this is really with the release of YouTube Shorts, which we're going to cover in just a couple of slides time in more detail, and then the long form content on YouTube already, of which, we're streaming this to YouTube right now. There is such incredible upside in kind of long-term value and SEO value through YouTube, as well as like the snappy short form video consumption as well. So I think YouTube is one to watch and certainly one that I would consider strongly as part of any social strategy, really. Jordan, I don't know if you have any other kind of views or call outs on this at all before we move on.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about this a lot today. I know video is the thing that everyone is talking about as being the major thing. And I feel like this is definitely pointing to that with YouTube and TikTok being at the top. Also in the chat, definitely. Rana says, I 100% feel this trend change strongly. So Andre calls out because YouTube has unlimited time constraints. So yeah, there are a lot of like reasons why this could be, but I also think it's really important to look at the data, which I've said on these lives before, I'm not great at. So I'm really glad we're doing these videos together because sometimes you kind of feel something and maybe it's real or maybe it's not, but looking at the actual information where I honestly didn't know YouTube was at the top right now. So like this is real data, which is really nice to look at.
That's what we can expect every single month. And
yeah, I mean, it's great.
We can zero in on this in a little more detail, and sometimes this might be a little too much detail, but often we think about best times to post when we're thinking about our social media schedule and what we're building into our content calendars, etc. But sometimes even if you look at a particular demographic, I think this only really applies if you're targeting Gen Z in particular or Gen Z. If you're not, you can probably ignore the next 20 seconds of what I'm about to say. But if you think about and look at the type of platforms they use, so Instagram is still top here throughout the majority of the day, which is kind of interesting. But then there is a surge of TikTok kind of late night because it's like that entertainment value content consumption. So, but what I think is particularly interesting about this trend around TikTok, right, and TikTok and YouTube as well, is the amount of time that people are spending on it as well. We're going to cover that in the next slide, actually. The amount of time that people are spending on those platforms is absolutely significant. I think that's really driving that behavior trend. And the important thing here is that with the more time that people spend on a platform, there's more opportunity for organic engagement. Like Jordan, you raised a really good point in the beginning, which is like, you don't have massive budget for ads like many small businesses. So a great counter to that is thinking about the platforms that will give you the best bang for buck, so to speak, for organic reach, of which TikTok and YouTube are really strong contenders in that category. As we're talking about YouTube, however, This statistic kind of blew me away. They only released YouTube Shorts to everyone. That was late last year, I think November time. And to be at a point of 1.5 billion monthly views, that is 75%. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. And it's really rare for a social platform to roll out a new content format and see such success. We saw it with Instagram rolling out stories and stealing it from Snapchat, for example. But like you can see it with, Facebook can't make any other content format really work at the moment, but YouTube have come straight to market with shorts and then, hit 75% of their audience. So there's about 2 billion monthly active viewers of YouTube. That makes YouTube not only the second biggest social platform by number of users, second only to Facebook, but then also the one that has the highest number of views. So this is 50% higher than TikTok get every month. So very, very interesting. For me personally, the caveat is that YouTube Shorts isn't for me personally because it's still limited to 60 seconds and I just can't articulate myself well enough within 60 seconds. So I'm curious, like Jordan, have you any views on Shorts? Have you tried it? Done anything with it at all?
I haven't tried it. This is one of my summer goals. So you may see more content coming out of me is to do more video. Because if anyone, I don't know if anyone watching can relate to this, the hurdle to start for me is so hard. Like I know you can just get started. That's why I enjoy live streams so much because it feels like it's okay to be a little more on the fly. And I've had a really hard time just like taking the leap. It's 60 seconds, so it should be, very doable, but I haven't actually tried it yet. I hope maybe by the next recap, I'll have tried a YouTube short.
Let's do it. That's the challenge. That is the challenge then. I'm curious, anyone watching in the chat, any experience with YouTube shorts, thoughts, etc. So
lots of people are saying they watch videos on YouTube. If anyone creates videos on YouTube, please let me know in the chat.
Yeah, we'd love to know some kind of experiences and successes that people might have seen. Sticking with the kind of younger demographic, because this once again like helps us chart the growth of these platforms. Once again, really, really useful to look at. So just to call out some of the color coding here, we'll see Snapchat at the top, which typically has been kind of teens preference, but that's kind of diminishing a little bit, but still very strong. TikTok has overtaken it, this black line here. Instagram has diminished in terms of its impact. Instagram is starting to be seen by younger audiences, not quite the kind of trendy platform it was. But the thing I do want to call out in particular here, that is very interesting. One, Facebook and Twitter are basically a dot on this audience's radar. And I think that has, if you're not targeting teens and really a younger demographic, you don't need to worry too much if you're kind of big on Facebook and Twitter. So you don't need to suddenly jump to this, but it does paint quite a concerning picture for the future of the platforms, because ultimately the younger audience are kind of tomorrow's consumers really. But I think a point to call out, I think it certainly would be interesting for you as well, Jordan, is Discord is one of the only platforms that has seen continual growth in terms of its popularity. And Discord we always see as a bit of a niche platform, but you frequent Discord quite a lot, don't you, Jordan?
Yeah, I was so happy to see this when we were going over the slides. I didn't know that Discord was growing in this way, and it's very exciting to me. I love the platform, and my biggest hurdle with it is just getting more people onto it. So I have hope that it will keep growing. I think as far as social media platforms that are great for community, which is like the thing I personally care about the most, Discord beats everything in my opinion. We have an Adobe Express Discord. The link is in all of our captions. So if anyone wants to come hang out with me, I'm in there every day. And I love how you can segment conversations. I think that's an incredible thing about Discord, where you can have the conversations you want to have with the people who also want to have them. And it's not as chaotic as some other platforms are, where just everyone's talking about everything all the time. So I would be very excited to see that platform keep expanding.
I love it. It's a really nice way of putting it as well, Jordan, actually. It's a really nice description of Discord. And because it's typically been a more kind of niche gaming platform, but it's really has hit the mainstream now, I think.
I have a soft spot for gamers too. So
Yeah, I
I
know
was
you
like,
do. I know
good
you
job
do.
making something that the rest of the world can also benefit from. So yeah, if you haven't checked out Discord since it started, which really was for gamers, it has expanded to all sorts of communities. So I highly recommend diving back in if you haven't been on it in a while.
Love it. Yeah, me too. Me too. And then for any UK based audience, we got some US stuff coming shortly. But for anyone that's tuned in, that's from the UK, this will be very relevant because this helps chart the importance of each platform in terms of the monthly active users. We often see this represented at a global perspective. So it's really nice when we can see it at a regional perspective because it helps us, as I said, like orientate around where do we think there's biggest upside for us and the largest potential audience. You'll see that the potential audience sizes over 6 months. You'll notice this is only until February 2022, and this is a June update. Only found this data earlier this month, and it was too good not to share, basically. So sorry, it's a little bit late. I'll be keeping an eye on it anyway. But you'll see that it's kind of plateaued. You'll notice that green line in the middle just here. That's Twitter. Once again, like Twitter's share is diminishing. A lot of the charts are going the wrong way for Twitter at the moment, if I'm honest. So I don't know if the Elon effect is going to change that come later this year, if this purchase and acquisition ever actually goes through. We'll see.
Definitely let everyone know how Twitter's doing. I'm super curious to see what happens. Very glad I'm not making any of those decisions, just can watch. So
indeed, yeah, a wait and see approach to Twitter is the one I would personally recommend right now. Yeah, and as you can see, one of the only platforms that's going up and to the right is TikTok. And talking about TikTok, we were talking about the time spent on platforms, maximizing like the organic engagement potential, because the more time people spend on a platform, the more opportunity there is for content to be seen. Just simple availability, right? If people are spending more time, they get served more content, more opportunity for your content to be seen. So the time that people are spending on the platform is a really good metric to think about. And as you can see, like, even though Snapchat's kind of plateauing and being seen as slightly less popular, as we've been seeing over the last slides, time spent on Snapchat is in a really good upwards trajectory, as it is with TikTok. So you can see both of those platforms really getting a huge share of an audience's mind. And we can see the same when we look at mobile users in the US as well. So as you can see, like 28.7 hours in a month, it's the average user in the US on a mobile on TikTok. And that's double Facebook. That Facebook number includes Messenger as well. So it's so big. And then what's that? About four times what Instagram is. And that's why you see such a massive difference in terms of the amount of reach and engagement you'll get on TikTok versus Instagram. But just as a caveat, in me saying that doesn't mean you need to abandon Instagram and go to TikTok, but it's just kind of simple math here, really, where you can see the things that are gaining popularity, and there's no ignoring TikTok. But what's your take on all of this stuff?
Well, the chat is actually really interesting right now. Thank you all so much for sharing your experiences. Roxanne is a fellow Discord fan. They say, as a gamer, I've used it for a long time. It's easy and user-friendly, great support, which I think is true. And also for our YouTube Shorts question, Eric says, started Shorts this week and immediately got increased growth on our channel. So
wow. Nice, great contribution. Thank you.
Yeah. So there's lots of conversations about TikTok having an impact on growth and video content being huge. Yeah.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Oh yeah. Keep them coming in. It's so good to like intersect this kind of like very statistical stuff with real world stories. So yeah, we love it. So last couple of things from me before we dive into the features and go platform by platform. If anyone's on LinkedIn, this is definitely worthwhile looking at. This is analysis over 100,000 posts around what's the type of content which will get you the highest click-through rate, what will get you the highest engagement rate. So click-through rate, as we all know, just to break that down, is the amount of clicks that you'll get on whatever call to action you might have put on that post. And from a LinkedIn perspective, that's all about what they call document posts, which really, it's a strange way of describing it, but it's ultimately very similar to LinkedIn or to Instagram's carousel post, so a multi-image post. The difference is, however, with LinkedIn, these kind of multi-images are uploaded as like a PDF or a PowerPoint file. And that kind of renders as a document of which people can look through. And that's achieving 3 times the amount of click-through. And it actually presents a really nice content concept for LinkedIn, because if, let's say, you're, like I do regularly, like talk about social media data, I posted these same slides, but rather than putting them as all on kind of, screenshotting this image and then posting it as an image to LinkedIn, I actually just put this as a very shortened down PowerPoint presentation, exported it as PDF, and then uploaded that to LinkedIn, of which I saw a meaningful difference in terms of the engagement and clicks that we got in that post. So gives us a new way to think about it. And of course, something that's coming in Adobe Express, which will be really useful, upcoming like multi-page stuff, being able to export that to PDF. It's going to give you a whole bunch of new creative orientated tools. And with that new knowledge of LinkedIn, if LinkedIn is your jam, that will give you some new options there to increase the impact that you're getting for your content. And secondly, on the right-hand side of this, in terms of engagement rate, which is the amount of interactions you get on your content per the amount of impressions you have, so the amount of people that interact per the amount of people that see your content, video posts are the way to go. I don't think anyone will be surprised with that, and that's particularly the case for smaller accounts under 10,000, which I think most of us would find ourselves in that camp. So document posts and videos, those are your 2 kind of main tips to up your LinkedIn game. So before we head out this data section and into the features, Jordan, anything else that you'd like to chime in on here?
I don't have anything particularly about LinkedIn. I have started using it more lately because we've been doing these lives. And honestly, there's a lot more activity on LinkedIn than I remember. It was one of those things I kind of got after college and then never looked at again. And I think that was a big mistake, because it's also like, more serious isn't really the right word, but I feel like it's more intentional, maybe, is what I mean. Like there's not as much, there's not as much just like stuff on there. I feel like most of the things, at least in my LinkedIn feed, are very relevant and interesting. So I was like, oh, I need to hang out. I need to hang out here more. So it's good to know that it's a good place for me.
Definitely. And as we were talking about like maximizing bang for buck organic engagement, like TikTok still wins for organic engagement rate. Average engagement rates are 6%. But then LinkedIn personal profiles comes next. So really it's only half what TikTok is, but actually double the average engagement rate you'll get from Instagram. So LinkedIn personal profiles are super powerful. And actually some of the updates that we're going to go through later around LinkedIn new creator mode, super valuable. To be honest, LinkedIn are doing so much around non-paid organic engagement and helping people grow through without paying, and of course that's what I'll orientate to, because I'm always thinking from a small business perspective. So yeah, very excited about what's happening around LinkedIn, as you can probably tell.
I have a LinkedIn question from chat. Eric asks, how do you measure engagement on LinkedIn? Is that an easy answer?
Yeah, absolutely. So I measure it as engagement rate. So for every post that you get, and you can see this by looking at your LinkedIn analytics too, but let's just say we published a post that 100 people saw. So we had 100 impressions. So that's our kind of impression number. And then let's just say we got 10 interactions. Those interactions could be a mix of likes, comments, shares, etc. So 10 interactions, 100 views, that's a 10% engagement rate. So that's all we'll do is the interactions over your impressions, just simply divide that, those 2 numbers, times it by 100, you get your percentage of whatever that is. So as long as you're kind of over a kind of 2% engagement rate on LinkedIn, you're doing really well. And 2% in comparison to the rest of the social platforms is incredibly high. So if the goal is to get more people interacting with your content, reach new folk, then engagement rates are a really important thing to look at, and LinkedIn is really strong for that. Hopefully that answers your question, Eric.
I have one more question. Grant asks, is there data on the resolution or sizing of different video content on LinkedIn? That's a more specific question. I don't know if you happen to know that offhand.
Yeah. So LinkedIn don't actually they're not very stringent on this at all. So I see people uploading 10-minute plus videos. So it's really strong. It does take a long time to upload though. So be patient with it. I post a 2-minute long video every single week and probably takes over a minute to upload sometimes. So you got to be patient. Really, it's pretty wide in terms of restrictions and also in terms of aspect ratio as well. I used to post in 16:9, which is like we're seeing here, which is the more kind of like landscape orientation. I've just switched it because I'm posting the same thing on TikTok as I am on LinkedIn. So I've switched that to 9:16, which is, you know, mobile orientation. So really, you've got a load of options there. So hopefully that there is some more detail underneath that, which LinkedIn support guides would probably be better than me because I'm not going to remember all them offhand. But just know this, it really is very unrestrictive, which also why I love it too. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Cool. All right. Let's fire through some of these feature updates. I'm going to start to go a bit quicker, conscious that we're kind of 28 minutes in and I've only covered the first section. But to be honest, we all love a bit of data anyway. So cool. What's happening in the world of Meta? But let's focus on Facebook in this instance. This is very much a theme of the world of social about monetization. So Facebook Reels is very much a thing. And they're encouraging creators with a following of over 1,000 followers to be able to monetize their content through these Facebook stars. Basically, it allows people to reward you and react to your content with these stars of which that your audience would purchase. And one thing that Facebook have committed, they're not taking a share of any creator-oriented revenue until 2024. So they're really pushing on monetization and this whole creator economy piece. Auto dubbing for Facebook videos is now live. It's a bit of a niche feature. Sorry for the awful screenshot, but it's super useful when you think about the accessibility of your content. Because here we're talking about, we're doing a live and it's only in English, of which is by nature pretty inaccessible. So what I love about this is that if you've uploaded a video to Facebook, you can now kind of automatically dub this and auto-generate dubbing in different languages. How you validate the accuracy of that, don't ask me. I don't know. Sounds a bit worrying to me. But as a principle, I love that accessibility, right? So yeah, that's a feature I'll be testing out. And also sticking with some of the kind of native tools on Facebook, when you're publishing content through the Creator Studio, you can now do collaborative posts. This is something I'm super big on. Instagram launched this a few months back, but the reason this is important, let's just say, you know, Jordan and I wanted to promote this event. A great way of doing that, which we probably should have done in the run up to this, if I'm honest.
Yeah, taking notes for ourselves right now.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so if we had done this together, you know, I could post this in collaboration with Jordan, which will mean that this would go to both of our feeds. So we both become the net beneficiary of, you know, increased exposure to each of our audiences. And I think if you could take away kind of one tip from today is to think about as many collaborations as you possibly can, because the more that you appear in other people's feed, that is the fastest way to grow your reach and grow the impact of your social content much faster than trying to grow your own followers. So think of all the people you can collaborate with and then work on those collaborations. So Jordan, I'm always really passionate about this, but I don't know if you've got a take.
Yeah, I use the Instagram feature all the time. One of my side hustles is like a podcast, blog, online hangout. So whenever I post things, it's always featuring someone else, always interviewing someone, or, you know, sharing user generated content, or like I have an ambassador program. So I use the collaborate feature on Instagram all the time. I genuinely didn't know about this on Facebook until right now. So I'll have to incorporate that into Facebook too. But it's incredible. I like to also use it as a way to shout out people I'm working with. So it's a nice way to give a +1 to other people. You can tag them, but I also just I love the collaboration tool, honestly.
That's such a good call out. Such a good call out. You'll have some views on this, Jordan.
I'm so excited about this. Andy flagged this to me ahead of time. I cannot wait. This is going to be great.
Do you want to explain why this is so important?
Yeah, I run the Adobe Express Facebook group right now. So if anyone would like to join, you can hang out with me all day, every day. So I am spending like 40+ hours a week in our Facebook group, and the fact that we can now have a specific, like, this is what I was saying about why I love Discord. And if we're getting anything close to that for Facebook, I will be thrilled. So I cannot wait to see how this goes.
Yeah, it starts to make Facebook groups feel quite Discordy in its approach, right? So, this is all about the introduction of chat and feed channels. So I think it's all right to be pretty open in this session. We have always a challenge that Jordan and I have spoken about in the insiders group, because we're like, there's 85,000 people in there, lots of diverse topics, some social media, some design, etc. And helping people get the right things that's right for them, like your description of Discord, which is so perfect, which is like, have the right topics at the right time with the right people, right conversations, etc. This is absolutely what Facebook groups needed for me.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
And linked to that, there's now the kind of community audio channels as well. So you can, related to those topics, you can strike up conversations and have kind of drop-in audio rooms. So, let's just say in our Facebook group, in the Adobe Express Insiders, we were talking about, social media updates, final thing on a Friday, little kind of like, just jump in, have a casual conversation type of thing. We could fire up these audio only rooms, which is kind of like a Clubhouse vibe. I'm a little bit kind of dubious about the growth of like live social audio since Clubhouse kind of bombed out a bit, which is interesting because podcasting has just been in the ascendancy, so much more time spent on podcasts, but live audio not really catching on. I don't know if you've got any views on this as well.
I haven't tried it. I love podcasts and audiobooks. I know they're two different things, but I actually never dived into live audio, so I'm not sure. Maybe I'll try this out. We'll see how it goes. I'm not sure.
We'll see.
Yeah,
but let's talking about we'll see. This is a kind of another thing with Twitter, because there's some good stuff going on with Twitter for sure, and they're really trying to push new features, but they don't have a very good track record of these features gaining traction. So like Twitter communities is something they kind of released, is a bit covert, to be honest. And even though it's, they've put it in there, if you look at the mobile app on Twitter, you'll see it in the navigation, but hasn't really gained communities, hasn't gained the traction that it deserves. So that being said, if Twitter is your thing, communities could be an opportunity for you, because Twitter are continuing to develop it, continuing to push it, etc. So now they've announced the ability to pin tweets to the top of your kind of community thread, and also be able to change the recommendation engine, so you can see the stuff that's being algorithmically recommended to you, just like typical social media feeds, or what's latest. So we'll see what happens with that. Like, if Twitter is your thing, like I said, it'll be worthwhile checking out. But as I said, until this acquisition goes through with Twitter, I honestly wouldn't be investing too much time in Twitter experimentation, would be my personal view. But that being said, if you're an e-com brand, Twitter were the last social platform to the table with social commerce features, so the ability to sell some of your products. The integration with Shopify, Shopify is integrated with pretty much all the social platforms now. So if you've got a Shopify site and you want to monetize your products and sell your products, because actually this is very relevant for you, right, Jordan? Because you run a store. I forgot, what's your store built on? Is it Shopify or something else?
It's Shopify, yeah.
Cool. So I'm curious in your views on things like that, the Shopify social integrations. Don't know whether you tried them or not.
I've tried them all. It's amazing. Personally, I think it's amazing. Anything that's automated, I say yes to, at least to try it out, because if there are any other small business owners in the chat, which I imagine there are, any time saving anything is a godsend. So yes, they don't always work flawlessly, but I'll try them all.
Nice. And it just makes life a lot simpler. And something else that's linked to shopping as well is these Twitter product drops. So if you want to generate some excitement around some things that are upcoming, drops have become quite popular in general on Twitter. So I quite like this approach. Building excitement of upcoming products links really nicely into the whole shopping experience that we've just been talking about. So I know when you've got a new line coming up, maybe there's a specific campaign that you've got in mind, Jordan. Maybe this could be a thing to test out. What do you reckon?
I'll totally try it. Yeah, well, I'll try it and let everyone know how it goes.
Yeah, sounds like you're going to get a lot of projects going on here.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, like I am learning as much, I think, as the audience here. And this is so helpful to me. Like I said at the beginning, keeping up with social media updates is a full-time job. And I already have too many full-time jobs. So like this 1 hour a month to just know what's happening. I hadn't heard of this before. So I'm very excited to at least once a month be updated on what's happening.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, another new feature straight out of the Twitter stable. This only came out a couple of days ago rather. This isn't available to all. This is one of the only features that I'm showing today that isn't available to all. It's just being tested with certain kind of higher profile users. Twitter Notes is them going into long form content. So basically blogging come to Twitter. For those that like to write and read long form, this is quite interesting because I think it's a good move personally, because as all of the other platforms race to just basically be like TikTok and become ubiquitous, to double down on the fact that you are a written content platform. I like the notion of that. Elon doesn't own the business yet, but this is one thing that he's very keen on, is going more into long form. We know how popular Twitter threads have been. So this might be something to just keep in our mind and think about. We can't do anything with it yet because most of us don't have access to it. But yeah, I quite like the principle of it. So something worth considering for the future. Jordan, any take on this?
Nope. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm going to be honest. Twitter is the one that I'm the least up on, I'll say. And I kind of took the opinion you've been talking about, which is like, I'm not going to invest a lot and I'll see where the platform lands. That's my personal take a lot. It's not always great. I miss a lot of things, but I also don't waste a lot of time with, things that don't actually stick around. So take that advice as you will. I think there's a perk to trying things out for sure. So we'll
there
see.
is.
Maybe I'll
there
change
is.
my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be of the opinion that if you don't have a strong Twitter audience right now, we'll leave it for now.
I don't.
Because
right.
Yeah, there we go. No, we'll leave it for now. But equally, like we said at the beginning, focus is key here. So we might want to experiment with something like YouTube Shorts might be our experimentational space. So let's just say, if we carve out our time and go, right, we're going to focus on, our two key platforms, for example, focus on that 80% of the time or 90, you might want to carve out 10% to go, you know what, I'm going to have a play with Shorts or YouTube Shorts or TikTok. So yeah, that would typically be my recommendation. But let's fly through some of the LinkedIn stuff. Like I said earlier, I'm super buoyant about LinkedIn. They've released some new analytics. In particular, what's really useful about these analytics is the demographic stuff, because no other platform allows you to know those demographics. Because it's very important to look at our content performance and go, oh, what got the best engagement or what got the most likes? But then again, even if something goes viral, if it's not being engaged with by the right audience, really, what good is it? So when we're looking at LinkedIn is the only platform that tells us this, sadly. But this is so important when we look at our analytics, look at the post and go, right, well, marketing specialists, the content I produce is all marketing orientated. So that's quite good. So pleased about that. But we've got some extra data around here, around engagements, discovery. So we're talking about impressions. Like this perfectly demonstrates the point that we were talking about earlier about how we figure out our engagement rate, because here's our total engagements and here's the impressions. This is how we work out our engagement rate. Another thing, just as a kind of bit of a call out as well for LinkedIn, LinkedIn are starting to lean more in on groups. They are not discussional threads. They are nowhere near as valuable as Facebook groups and absolutely nowhere near Discord in terms of the value. But the reason I flagged them here is that LinkedIn seem to be pushing them again. But what is interesting actually is that what I'm starting to notice is that you're given an option when you post to LinkedIn and you create a post and you publish it. It then is now triggering an option to say, hey, this post would do well in this group that you're part of. And then what I've seen when I've tested this is seen increase and a bump in engagement that post has received. So this could be another little quick tip to take away. If LinkedIn is your thing, go ahead and join just a couple of groups that look relevant. Relevance is key here. And then look at how you can cross-share those posts, because LinkedIn's going to encourage it, cross-share those posts into those groups. It doesn't feel right to me. It feels kind of a spammy approach, to be honest, because you're just chucking posts out, not adding value to a community. Now, that aside, if it is, I don't feel it's the right approach, but I feel that, if I've seen anything that's increased engagement, I think you need to flag it, because if it's all about organic, then we want to know, right?
Yeah. I wanted to say too, the chat is a little bit delayed, but Deandra talking about Twitter said that threads are kind of good for Twitter and they can have a lot of engagement and interaction. So they will probably stick around. So there's like lots of great chatter in the chat. Thank you all so much for letting us know your opinions and your questions and stuff. It's really cool to see how, everyone has different opinions about all of this, which I think is part of what makes social media so interesting, is that everyone's using it for different things in different ways. So thank you all very much for letting us know how you're using it. It's really cool.
Definitely agree. So some other quick things to make LinkedIn better, and all this is available now, all of it available free. Link lead gen forms allows you to link a new lead gen form to your company profile. So basically you can just title it as like sign up now, subscribe, or whatever. Whatever is your call to action. If people look at your company page on LinkedIn, they can just go ahead and sign up and all of your leads will be collected here. Simple, easy to do. Yeah, I definitely recommend it. LinkedIn articles, they're long form posting. We can now tag and have hashtags in that too, which is going to increase discovery of these. Articles haven't been a top performing thing, but this might change that as well, certainly if they're leaning into hashtags again. Follower growth tools, super important. If you have a personal profile on LinkedIn and it's not switched to creator mode, switch it to creator mode would be my recommendation. You can do that just by going to your profile, pressing the edit button, and you can do that. The reason it's super important, the other thing whilst you're editing your profile, be sure to update this thing that says you have an opportunity to update what you talk about. And this way you can put in hashtags, things you talk about. So basically, what do you want to be known for? So for you, Jordan, it might be gaming, it might be Comic-Con, it might be those kind of things. For me, it's just basically social media nerdery. That's all. So when people, hopefully something with a bit more SEO value than that, but when someone's searching for things like augmented reality, you can then, it's basically LinkedIn SEO and what they've improved. So that's super important. And also you can see that there's new follower tools. So people don't need to click on your profile to follow you. It'd be just like, click, click, click. So it's made easier for a user to follow you. So that means, because LinkedIn's always been about connections, about like, oh, I've known you. It's kind of like our business card. We're exchanging business cards. It's creator mode is not that. It's just typical social media. Basically creating our profile, making sure people know that who we are, what we're about, what they get from following us. And then, focusing on growing our followers using these kind of tools. Another thing that's going to be super useful, only available to creator mode, like we saw lead gen forms, like we can put a link on our company page. Now on our personal profile, we can put a link. So Jordan, you can put a link to your own personal shop.
I love it. Yeah, that's great.
Simple, easy to do. Just, it's a no-brainer to get that done. LinkedIn live audio events. We're streaming this to a LinkedIn event right now, but you can do audio only events as well. I think if the audio only format is going to work, it's going to work on LinkedIn. So I think that's probably the best place for it. Lots of more development around events. So LinkedIn are really doubling down on events, especially around like the comments as well. You can comment before, during, and after events too. And a really simple thing for LinkedIn, this is perfect for those people that are like, LinkedIn's not my thing, I don't know how to get started. If you just want to get started, they've now got a simple repost button. So if you just, it's not the ideal thing to do because original content is always better, but this is better than nothing. So if you work for a company,
this because you actually remembered to post about this event, which I was like, thank you, Andy, gonna reshare this. So it's amazing. Especially like we've been talking about collaborating. This is a great way to like shout out people who are working on the same project as you, or lots of things, just sharing cool stuff. But thank 100%. God for this button.
Too right. So conscious we've got like 10 minutes left. I'm going to fire through some of these things. Instagram full screen view is coming. We don't need to do anything right now, but we need to be very aware of this. Big changes to LinkedIn. You'll notice there is no stories in this view. Stories will still be here, but stories looks like it's going to be less of an experience. Instagram aren't saying this, but I really feel like it's heading that way.
See the writing on the wall. Yeah,
you can, very much so. We need to be thinking about, basically Instagram is turning into TikTok. I mean, I don't feel it's the right thing, but it is what it is. It's the direction of travel. So we just need to be mindful of it. Talking of reels, we can now do 90-second reels, which is a bit better, more creativity. We can cram into 90 seconds. We've also got swipeable stickers, which is great for asking questions like yes or no, what do you think's better? The more that we can get audience participation, the better engagement we're going to get on our content. So definitely recommend trying that. Really simple one, pinning posts to Instagram.
This one's great. I love this. I've used it. It's the best.
Have you used it already?
Yeah.
Love it.
It's so nice.
Quick off the mark. One of those really simple actions. You've got a post that represents you the best, post that's done really well. Go ahead and pin it, just like you can on other channels. Photo remixing to aid Reels creation. So now if you're looking through the feed on Insta and you're like, oh, I'm not really ready to create a Reel yet, you don't want to go face to camera, you can just create Reels with a mix of photos. So you can just remix photos that you might find from others or remix photos that you've created yourself and then build them into a Reel. Alternatively, you can use, design oriented tools like Adobe Express for that too. So you can edit and trim Reels content in Facebook Creator Studio. So if you've created like longer form content that's oriented to Facebook and you want to trim it to Reels, Facebook Creator Studio has made that a bit easier. And Instagram, talking about collabs again, Instagram have put out this creator marketplace, much improved, two-sided marketplace, great for brands and businesses to find people to work with. So not sure who you want to collab with, just go here, look at the type of niches that you're involved in and find those people to collaborate with. And if you're a creator and you've got 1,000 odd followers, you're getting good engagement and you want to try and monetize, this is definitely your opportunity to do that. TikTok, new analytics, quite similar, but what it's now doing is giving you a benchmark of how your content's performing relevant to or relative to others like you. So nice, simple update from TikTok analytics. TikTok analytics gets better every time I look at it. So definitely worthwhile keeping an eye on. Live subscriptions, once again, about creator monetization. So this is more kind of private live streams for those individuals that, if you've got an audience and you only want to allow certain people into that live stream, you can now do that. This is very important about finding those creating those niche communities as well and finding those creators to work with. Once again, shopping, e-commerce. So if you're not using Shopify, but you're using WooCommerce, Shopify integration to TikTok already exists, but WooCommerce now does too as well. So you've got your product catalog. You can now easily represent that on TikTok. Playlists, like we see with YouTube, you want to organize your content into those themes to make it easier for people to digest your content, see who you're about. I see this as a no-brainer, something to do. If you're on TikTok, I'll definitely be doing this. And stories has come to TikTok too. So in the first in a bit of change of the narrative from people stealing from TikTok, basically TikTok have stolen from others. I don't see this as hugely important right now because of where it's in the TikTok experience. So if the objective is trying to grow on TikTok, I wouldn't worry about stories. The only way you can access the stories if I clicked on Jordan's profile and then clicked on that kind of little ring that's around Jordan's profile, I could watch her stories. But ultimately, if you don't have an audience, there's kind of no point in doing that. So if I'm honest, I wouldn't be distracted by this. But if you do have an audience and you want to have that kind of story level engagement, because we're all familiar with how stories works, and we might find this a more comfortable way to get started. So could be good. Talking about comfortable ways to get started, templates, as we all know so well from Adobe Express.
We know and love them, yeah.
We know and love them. And once again, like you saw with Insta, helping people, TikTok's quite conscious about helping people to get started with just images only. So you can upload a whole bunch of photos into one of these kind of templates. So it kind of animates our photos, makes them a little more engaging, just as a nicer way to get started. 3 other very quick updates before we close out and answer any more questions and talk about what's coming next. YouTube ads have come to Shorts, so absolute no-brainer. We've seen the growth of Shorts. So if you've got an ad budget, this could be a great opportunity. Into Snapchat, it's about collabs again. So shared stories on Snapchat is now a thing. So if Snapchat is your jam and looking at working with others, that is the thing to do. And then Pinterest, idea pins, which is like their stories. We've now got ads to run on those as well. And as you can see, it's a really rich experience. So definitely worth considering if you're an e-com brand and you've got some really like some rich visuals to your content, because you can see exactly how that looks. And with that, we have made it. And like to kind of summarize that in 5 key things before we talk about, you know, any questions and kind of next steps here. LinkedIn creator profiles, I'm super buoyant about that. It is such an incredible opportunity around driving great organic reach. I don't see any business that's not suitable to have a personal profile and a creator profile on LinkedIn personally. YouTube Shorts taking the battle to TikTok, as we know. Monetization is what Meta is doubling down on, like the Real Stars program, the Facebook Creator Marketplace, the Instagram Creator Marketplace, all of that stuff, really helping brands and creators monetize. Social commerce is across all platforms. So if you're in e-commerce, you've never had it so good, because every single platform pretty much has an integration with Shopify now, or native stuff available for you to represent your shops on the products. And I think we've spoken enough about collaborations and how keen Jordan and I are on you know, working across that. But there we go.
That's amazing. That was an incredible update. We have just a few minutes left, but Laura in the chat asked if we do this every month, or if we do these recaps often. So they're at the end of every month. Please feel free to join us at the end of July for our next recap. I think we can answer like one question. We have a few minutes. And also just to say, Andy and I are in the Adobe Express Facebook Insiders group and Discord all the time. So please feel free to ask us questions in there. We're also doing a social surgery, which is a fun project that we just started, which is you can ask us personalized questions, like literally send us your social media profile links and ask us like, how should I fix this? Or what are your recommendations here? Happy to give you very personalized info. That's also in the Adobe Express Insiders group. The next one is July 18th. So feel free to join us. But our question from the chat is, should we invest in TikTok as small business owners selling bespoke items online? What do you say to that, Andy?
100% yes.
I also agree with that.
Too much opportunity to ignore here. Opportunity for free reach. The more bespoke it is, the better. You've got so much creative options there. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we could go into more detail if you want to join one of those social surgeries, or you just want to message us on the Insiders group. But short answer is yes. I don't know if you have any other views, Jordan.
Yeah, no, it can be tricky to figure out exactly how to use that to your own advantage. So like I said, if you would like to share what your actual business is with Andy and I, we bring in other experts from our Adobe team too. So please feel free to join us for a more personalized chat. Maybe we can squeeze in. Oh yeah,
just going to say, if you just want inspiration as well, always recommend heading to TikTok and then searching. You'll see search in the top right. So put in whatever your niche is, whatever your product is, and you'll see people probably creating content around a similar thing. That'll give you a whole bunch of inspiration from what other people are doing. So go do that. I reckon in 5 minutes, you have a bunch of inspo. Go on, let's see do we have time for the next one?
I don't know. Can you answer predictions for long-term TikTok, Instagram, Facebook performance really quickly? That's like, I mean, I guess we kind of did that with trends, what direction they're going.
But fundamentally,
that's a big question.
Insta is all about Reels and live streaming too. Basically, you've got 3 things across those platforms. Carousels on Reels, always super important. Live streaming on Insta, Facebook, and TikTok will continue to be massive. Reels will be continually pushed. And the more you can use collaborations on TikTok, so that is super important. So search TikTok branded mission, so powerful. So with that, I think they're your kind of 4 main takeaways. There you go. I've managed to fit that in.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great. Thank you so much for squeezing in that last answer. And like we said, we're in the Adobe Express community spaces, Facebook and Discord. So please feel free to join and talk to Andy and I between now and our next video. So thank you all so much for watching. Thanks for being so active in the chat. We can't wait to catch you on the next video. Have a great day, everyone.
Next month. Thank you. Bye. Bye.